Boker Tov and Shalom, Shalom to everyone watching. We are continuing our study or learning through the book of Letters for the Ages from the Ramban, Nachmanides. Of course, this is being done in merit to my three sons, Mayor David and Joshua and David Joseph. You may ask, well, why so much Davids? It's a whole story in itself. But when we take a look at chapter 12, understand the importance of honoring God and this idea of striving every day. He says in his 12th chapter, when your actions display a genuine humility, when you stand meekly before God and fearfully before God. Rav Nosson Tzvi Finkel, known as the Alter Slabotka, 1849 to 1928, constantly emphasized that all men are precious, for they are made in the image of God. When one showers others with kindness and respect, he thus also honors God himself. The first resolution recorded in the Alter's spiritual diary was that he was to try to be extremely careful of my fellow man's honor with patience and soft answer, never once to get excited, to find ways daily, at least, or at very least weekly, of benefiting my friends. An everyday striving, Mesilat Yesharim writes that although God has endowed every individual with a unique ability, one should not become unduly proud on their account. See, pride usually creates a lot of stumbling blocks. Each advantage was meant to be shared. One who is wealthy may rejoice in his lot, but at the same time, he must help those in need. If one is strong, he must assist the weak. The situation of the world is similar to a large household where there is so many different servants assigned to different tasks. Each servant must fulfill his own appointed chore in the affairs and needs of the household if they are to be managed properly. There is really no room for pride here. Further on in Mesilat Yesharim, he develops an axiom to monitor one's response to fortune. As one's wealth increases, his pride should wane, not the opposite. His situation is similar to that of a beggar who accepts the gift of kindness, yet also humbled because of them. The more he receives, the greater his feeling of indebtedness. And thus King David reacts to God's kindness by saying, how can I repay the Lord for all of his kindness to me? Psalms 116, verse 12. In addition to being a giant in Torah knowledge, Rabbi Moshe Feinstein was also a paragon of piety and wonderful in midot. Indeed, someone once asked Rav Moshe in what merit he had become so revered by all Jews, and he replied, I have never knowingly caused any hurt to any human being. In other words, not to hurt fellow human beings. We all fall short of that. His respect for others manifested itself on a daily level. One man recalled how Rav Moshe had once failed to notice him as he walked by. 10 steps later, Rav Moshe turned around and came back and greeted the man, and then, to make up for the oversight, spent some time conversing with him. One day, as Rav Moshe walked through the lobby of his apartment building, a woman held the front door for him, and the next day, Rav Moshe was in the lobby and noticed a woman approaching the door. And this time, he rushed over to hold the door for her. No, she protested, but to no avail. Erasing the traces of arrogance. After concluding an address to a gathering on the east side of New York, Rav Moshe quickly made his way towards the exit. As he neared the door, the chairman in the gathering introduced the next speaker and respected Rav on the east side of the congregation. Rav stopped at the door and turned back and retook the seat for the duration of the rabbi's address, and he feared that some might misinterpret his exit as a lack of regard for the Rav, and certainly not his intention. Someone who assisted Rav Moshe for a number of years once asked him, Why does the Rosh Yeshiva permit phone calls to disturb his learning during the day? Would it not be more practical to accept the calls at a specific hours of only? Rav Moshe replied, "There is a trace of arrogance in telling someone I cannot be disturbed. He must call me back at my convenience. This is not for me." After concluding a meeting, Rav Moshe and Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky stood in discussion with one another for a moment before entering a waiting car. And as they took their seats, Rav Yaakov chose to sit next to the driver while Rabbi Moshe seated himself in the back. After Rav Moshe alighted from the car, Rav Yaakov explained to the driver the reason for the delay. "We were discussing who would be getting off first. The person we decided should sit in the back. So where we were to sit in the front, you would be left alone, and there, left in the car, with you remaining the passenger in the back. And it would have looked as if there were nothing more than a chauffeur. Even in these small aspects, you show kavod, you show honor to the person, the person that's there. And this is something we need to show, is the honor due to each person. As a matter of fact, we have a tradition that when someone comes visit us, that we should walk outside with them at least 4 or more amos, which is about 4 to 5 feet outside the door, to accompany them in their travel, as it were. May God give us wisdom and understanding. Perhaps by doing so, we would have turned off a lot of the candles or the fires that we accidentally lit up by doing the opposite. May God bless you and all of yours. Shalom Aleichem.